Wow, that took a long time to go live. Good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're seeing this. Of course, not legal advice. Like, subscribe, share, whatever. If you see this or whenever you see it, I kind of decided to do a quick impromptu. We'll see how quick it is, but a definitely impromptu about the GTII-PR that came out this morning at 6:25 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So I wanted to talk about it, kind of wanted to put it in context, purely my opinion only. That is it, just so we're clear. Only opinion, and take it for whatever it's worth. And I'll give you kind of my thoughts and then do with it as you please. Before we start, I wanted to say a few things. Of course, I have to say a few things. So what's the best way to watch a fishing show? Of course, live stream. What kind of pasta gets locked out of its own house? No key. What is the most, and now we're getting to maybe more applicable subject matter. What is the most common digestive issue any pathological liar suffers? IBS. And last but not least, I'll skip the last one. So this morning there was a PR that was, and let me back up. So anything that helps the value of GTII is wonderful. I support any action that does that, by whomever, for whom, whatever, inadvertently, on purpose, or whatever. So let me start at that. And when I began following GTII, and I checked the Alpine scorecard today, and there was no changes in the appellate record or anything like that. But when I started it, my thought process was to push, and hopefully that would cause some change and some benefit to shareholders such as I. So that was the original intent. And as time went on and things went down a rabbit hole and became different than what my original intentions were. However, and it's the same thing as of today, if we could get full resolution today, I would accept that. So that's kind of where we're starting off with. Now, obviously, people have talked about the Alpine side of things and a lot of people believe there's a concentrated short position in Alpine and think it might squeeze because of that concentrated short position. I don't know if that's true, but we're going to talk a little about that issue here. So I saw today when I look, and I don't think that management, this is my opinion, of course, I don't think management has done diddly squat. So up until today, and I reached out to them literally over 100 times. And I was thinking about this today. I don't think anybody from management ever got back to me, literally, no times. And I think I heard from their main counsel once, maybe, and I heard from the other counsel a few times, but not, I don't think, since March 18th of this year. So no contact for a couple months. And I've asked many questions and basically sought some explanation. At no point in time have I received any contact or explanation from any director or officer of GTII that I can remember, unless they were using a false name or something like that. So that's where my involvement is. If at any point in time they would have elected and had any interest in bailing, I would have certainly sought a way to get them out of the company, get the shares back, make everybody, put all the shareholders back in a much better position, let new management take over, yada, 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 that stuff. Okay, so that's where we're starting, and that's still my position and opinion as of today. So in the PR that was released today, it says, and I'm reading the headline, I'm shortening it a little bit. GTII reaffirms commitment to shareholder value and continued vigilance against non-compliant trading activities. So saw the headline, it kind of struck me. Why did it strike me? reaffirms their commitment to shareholder value. So I don't know what value they've generated for shareholders. If I recall, for the years 2022, 2023, and as of today, because they haven't filed their 10Q, also problematic, there was no revenue. So without any revenue, it would be difficult to create shareholder value, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think maybe this is a really esoteric concept, but you could create shareholder value if your company did business. And if it didn't do business and didn't do acquisitions, then it would be harder to get shareholder value. So I was struck by that headline and that statement. And then it says continued vigilance against non-compliant trading activities. Now, I don't know what they're referring to. I don't know what they did to pursue non-compliant trading activities. And that will come apparent as we kind of go through this. The vigilance I have not seen. They don't even respond to shareholders, at least me and then others who I've spoken with. And by the way, I have so a lot of people reach out for various reasons. One person, sharp guy, reaches out. He doesn't believe in the short squeeze, whatever at all. He doesn't believe that. Seems like a sophisticated guy. But he who doesn't believe in the short squeeze believes this PR is BS. And he's on the other side. So I found that kind of interesting. But anyway, the vigilance against non-compliant trading activities, if you recall, and I don't want to spend too much time about this one aspect, but in the 10K that talked about the year 2023, there were, I think, approximately 60 million shares that went to directors, 20 million shares to foundations. There was the delisting or downlisting. So I found the statement about non-compliant trading activities interesting. Also, the fact that they haven't filed their 10Q for the first quarter after having a very questionable 2023 and asking for time to file it late causes me concern and should cause anybody concern. And I'll kind of go through that in a second to explain that. So I found the wording awkward and maybe, in my opinion, didn't seem to fit. So then they talk about, so what are they going to do? So what they do is they refer to Alpine and its issues with the NSCC and potential back testing charges, which were, I think, in a few $1 million. And they say it also relates to the concentrated short position in GTII, and that GTII has also been in communication with the NSCC regarding this matter. I don't know what that means. I don't know if they sent an email, they spoke to somebody or anything like that, but that's what they say. And their new COO, so the new COO is Luke Ribari, and we've heard of him before. And I think he took over May 1st. So he may not be familiar with prior goings-on. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he was not familiar with prior goings-on with GTII, except for his time there, which is probably like the last 6 months. And again, I was struck by the language that he used, that GTI management maintains an unwavering commitment to safeguard the interests of our shareholders. And remember, about the year 2023, approximately $90 million loss, 60 million shares to directors, 20 million approximately to foundations controlled by seemingly insiders, $4 million in cash. Remember, in 2022, there was $400,000 approximately spent in operations to generate zero revenue. And in 2023, to generate zero revenue, there was $4.4 million in cash that somehow disappeared. So that occurred. So safeguarding the interests of shareholders in light of that, in the light of the downlisting and the reason for the downlisting. And remember, the downlisting happened in April of 2023. After that, they did the dividend, and there was issues with the dividend itself. and they didn't announce the downlisting until after the dividend. And the downlisting referred to, I don't have it in front of me, but reoccurring issues with regarding insider transactions and beneficial interest, suggesting there was an ongoing problem. As far as I know, there's as of today, and I've asked for it, there's never been any explanation as to what the cause of that downlisting was. So any statement of a effort to safeguard the interests of shareholders seems to me to not meet the test based upon what occurred before Mr. Ribari was present at GTII. It next says that our management is dedicated to implementing strategic initiatives and sound governing practices that ensure long-term growth and profitability. Now think about that. Sound governance, they didn't file their 10Q in time. They filed their 10K late. It was different than, and you'll see, because I'm going to give you a quick summary at the end, but you see it really didn't say what it was supposed to say. So there's no revenue. So it's interesting that, and there's no hint, as far as I know, I haven't seen anything, any reference from management that there's an acquisition that's likely to occur. Nobody has called me up and told me that. Nobody has hinted at that. So how that could ensure long-term growth and profitability in light of the 2023 financial statement makes no sense to me. So I don't know what Mr. Ribari is referring to. They also say, we want to reiterate to all our shareholders that GTI management takes the integrity of GTII trading activities very seriously. Now, I want to repeat this over and over, but just look at the 2023 year-end financial and the distribution of shares to directors, to foundations, the downlisting reference, the disappearance, or whatever happened to the $4 million in cash. Maybe it's legitimate. Maybe it was legitimately used to generate zero revenue, but it certainly causes you to have questions and causes you to wonder about the statement that they're very serious about the trading activities of GTII. And remember, shareholders of the insiders of GTII, I think that all the directors have been selling shares per plan. So how serious have they been about the trading activities of GTII? Makes me wonder. Next thing it says is management is fully committed to upholding the highest standards of compliance and transparency. Now that I find an absolute ludicrous statement when they haven't filed their 10Q and when they had to just fire their auditor because he was deemed to be a sham auditor and he was shut down by the SEC. So how committed to the highest standards of compliance and transparency could you be? I don't know, but it makes me wonder if that maybe wasn't the most precise statement that you should have used. Whoever drafted this, if it's Mr. Ribari or somebody on his behalf, just makes me think. Should there be any indication of trading activities that may not align with regulatory requirements, we will take immediate action and thorough action to investigate and address such matters. What about the stock that went to the directors in 2023? What about the downlisting and shares that might be involved with that? Where is the investigation and where did you address such matters? In fact, the downlisting, apparently you did nothing. There's no response. So I don't understand the language that you've used. Perhaps I'll give you the benefit of doubt, Mr. Ribari. You haven't been involved with GTII. You've only been the CEO, so the person responsible for the day-to-day operations since May 1, but you now are responsible for the day-to-day operations. And if I give you information, because I know, and the reason why I know these type of videos are being watched is because In my arbitration with MMTLP, the Fidelity Council said that they watched all the videos. And in a conversation, at least one with Mr. Fattel for GTII, he referenced they watched all these videos regarding GTII. So they all know what's going on. As a matter of fact, on one email once, just to make sure I understood how the email chain worked. So what I would do is I would send multiple emails, whatever the issue was. I would send it to two or three of the directors and both counsel, and sometimes Mr. Rabarian. One in particular, I only sent to two of the directors. And about 20 minutes later, I got a call from the attorney asking me about the email. So that made me confident that the senior management was receiving all my emails, because if they weren't, then the attorney would not have called me because I didn't send it to him. So I feel comfortable that not only are they watching this, but they have been watching these and others like this. So to the extent that they didn't know this, so Mr. Rabari, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. To the extent you didn't know about any of this stuff, you do now, and you're on notice. And whereas perhaps prior to May 1st, you were not in a position of responsibility or a fiduciary to shareholders, today you are. And I'm sure you will do the right thing. And if that means, by the way, that you will pursue Alpine, then pursue Alpine. If you have to sue Alpine, then do it. I'll support that 100%. Now, I was a little bit suspicious about the timing of this particular PR. Sometimes I'm a suspicious sort. The reason I was suspicious is because by this time, and with all the shareholders that have been involved and have communicated, they know that they can anticipate legal activity shortly. So I no doubt they're watching the videos, they're aware of the chatter, and they know what's going on. So this PR, someone who might be cynical might think, is intended as a defense for some future legal action that might be taken. And they might be trying to create the illusion that they're actually doing something for the benefit of shareholders. So that's, in my opinion, that might be the reason for the PR. That's just my guess. So they say basically they'll take immediate action, and they are only for compliant trading practices. If you look at my prior videos, etc., you know that that's, in my opinion, not the case. And I've been working with an attorney. Oh yeah, by the way, so I guess I probably should discuss this briefly. I pulled the order. So this is the order from the SEC that talks about the concentrated short position. And the order is November 9th of 2022. The order specifically references GTII. So, and the last part of the paragraph that refers to GTII, it says, in September 2022, caused Alpine to fall below the backtesting target, and it attributed the deficiencies to Alpine's net short portfolios, with the top driver being a concentrated short position in GTII. So this notice, referring specifically to GTII, at latest should have been noticed by GTII management November 9th, 2022. So my question is, why didn't they take action, legal action, against GTII when they were on notice? And this document specifically referenced, correctly or not correctly, a concentrated short position in GTII. So they've waited almost going on 2 years to take action in their diligent and vigilant attempt to deal with non-compliant trading activities. So the fact that it happened 2 years ago, and it specifically named GTII, and now they're not suing Alpine. What they're doing is they're putting in a FOIA request to the Securities and Exchange Commission seeking data related to the backtesting charge. Now, if anybody's done FOIA request, and I am involved in MMTLP, and FOIA requests were implicated in that. They generally don't produce very good results. One, they take a lot of time. Two, and if there's an ongoing investigation, which is frequently used by the SEC, they can refuse to produce any documents. And if you have to keep thereafter to get documents, might take you, many, many months or years. So that's what they're pursuing. They're pursuing, and they haven't pursued it yet. And all it takes is going on a computer and punching a bunch of buttons. It's not difficult. So why they haven't done that, even as of today, without explanation, is inexcusable. Why they haven't pursued more legal action when they were aware of this at latest November 2022 makes no sense. And to the extent they're now portraying their effort as vigilant and they're out to reaffirm their commitment, in my opinion, since 2023, they've had no commitment, or their commitment was, my opinion, not to the shareholders, but to themselves. That's what it appears to be to me. And there are a lot, maybe it's not true, but there's a lot of issues that are out there that they have not explained. I've asked them to explain. They've made an election not to explain them. I can't force them to explain it, but if you claim that some distribution is improper and they elect not to refute that, and there's evidence of it, most people would conclude there's some validity to those claims. If they want to contest items, then they should, but they've elected not to. So with all that, and with all that's gone on, how could this PR be of substance? All it's talking about is requesting documents in the future from the SEC that probably won't be provided. That costs nothing to do. That there's no cost to that. If they really wanted to protect shareholders, they should hire real litigation counsel, go after Alpine, and go protect the shareholders with regard to all those short positions. This statement about some ambiguous action that really will have no value and won't affect us in the near term. Listen, by the time that FOIA request is dealt with, these guys might have beat the company down to death by then. And it was close. Today, I think we had a good day on the stock because I think people get the feeling that, one, as I said, if these guys pursue Alpine and it works for everybody's benefit, then so be it. But alternatively, I think people understand that if they don't, that there are efforts in progress to get them out of management. And if we get them out of management, then we expect things to be different and beneficial for shareholders. And at some point in time, the shorts are going to have to cover. If in fact there are shorts that need to cover, and in fact they believe that there's a risk that GTII will actually do business, then there will be a force to cover. At least that's what I believe. So last but not least in this short live stream, I'm working with somebody who is working on this matter, and I provide information. And I kind of told you what the PR was, and I kind of want to describe a summary of a section that I did for somebody and compare that to what you heard about that PR. And you can look at it afterwards if you want. But I thought it was kind of funny. My opinion of the situation kind of ran differently than what the PR said. So in my summary, it says, and again, this is all opinion, so take it for whatever it's worth. So a tax expert selected a sham auditor to do GTII's financials, which were submitted late after the 2023 year end and reflected huge financial irregularities. Borgers, the former auditor, acknowledged creating fake documents not with regard specifically to GTII, by the way. And that is in part why they were terminated by the SEC in May of 2024. GTII was downlisted for the reason of repeatedly concealing or distorting the truth. They also lied about the timing and content of a March 31st, 2024 10-K filing. They then sought an extension and filed it later than represented on April 16th. It did not contain the information represented by defendants' representatives, which defendants knew would be publicly disseminated to shareholders by somebody like me. When the late 10-K was actually filed, it reflected huge financial irregularities without any explanation. Their new auditor, hired after GTII's prior auditor was terminated entirely from practice by the SEC, has not prepared a 10-Q as required, nor have they complied with the timing of the request for extension. Directors continued or seemingly continue to sell off shares after diluting shareholders by about 45% in 2023. In light of the 10-K and the content for all of 23, resulting in what appears to be potential tortious misconduct, the failure to get an update for the first quarter of 2024 after the time to file the 10-Q has passed puts shareholders in further risk of an immediate complete loss in addition to the real immediate risk of delisting. And that's just my summary of one particular aspect. So if you take that summary, again, just my opinion, but if you take that summary and you compare it to the language of the PR and the valiant and diligent efforts of management, we are kind of in different positions. I'll let you decide. You can decide, who you think more accurately portrays the events. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine also. But I have concerns about the way that PR was framed. I, in my opinion, think it is BS. I think it's just a cover. That's just my opinion. Anyway, I wanted to address that. I appreciate everybody who watched. If you have any questions, please comment. I'll post the video, but feel free to comment, ask questions. I'll try to respond. As I indicated, I hope next week we will have some things to discuss. I'm hoping and expecting that to be the case. I will, and the bottom line is, if anybody had the question, we're not stopping until we get to the end, and hopefully the end will be soon. And if in fact management changes their stripes and does everything they should do and brings value, that's great, but we're still going to get rid of them. But if they can do things in the meantime, then wonderful. So that's kind of where we sit. Everybody have a great weekend. Be well. And if anything else pops up, I will let you know. And again, reach out, comments, take care. Have a great weekend.